Brahms is bringing the heat. Introducing Brahms' new spicy chicken sandwiches. Flavor this good just can't be beat. Brahms' crispy, tender, spicy chicken delivers just enough kick to ramp up our original recipe. Get it regular or club style with crispy bacon and American cheese. Add on Brahms sauce for that extra burst of heat, and you have spicy chicken sandwich perfection. Because nothing is better than Brahms.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Skordle Pay Dirt Pick'em Show. My name is Michael Swisher, the editor at the Kingfisher Times and Free Press, filling in this week for Andy Campbell. No fill-ins on our expert board here, as we have a great panel this evening as we get to look at some of Week 9's top games as teams are winding it up for the regular season, trying to make their playoff push and get themselves in prime position. We've got Mark Rogers, who last time I saw you, Mark, we were both standing outside Jordan-Hare Stadium, kind of getting ready for that Auburn OU football game. And I learned that you have impeccable taste with the shirts that you acquire.
Your Stitch shirt looks very fine tonight. It was a much better time for OU when we saw each other last. It's been rough since.
Was that 6 years ago?
Well, it was 0 wins ago.
You're exactly right. We got Jacob Dieselhorst, who I just found out is a junior campaign advisor for President Trump. Tom Nelson. Tom, what time did you get home from Boise City last week? I had to skip right on past Jake there. But Tom, what time did we get home from Boise City last week?
It wasn't Boise City. It was Hooker, and it was way late.
Yeah, okay. It's the same thing once you get out there.
Exactly. It doesn't matter. Once you get out to the Panhandle, it doesn't matter.
Then we got our special guest picker, Tony Wilson, also known as Booty. You hear him on a lot of NFHS Network games. You can see him slinging some pizza and doing a lot else. Booty, what we got going on this week?
Man, with a little bit of everything, Swish. We'll be Friday afternoon. We'll be at the OSU Equestrian Meet. They're taking on number 1 Auburn, I believe. So we'll be up there for lunch. Come on up. I'll buy you pizza.
Auburn,
Hey,
an equestrian powerhouse.
I got an OSU equestrian shout out for Doug Gottlieb's daughter, who I'm not sure if she's on the varsity team this year, but she, this is her first fall with the OSU equestrian team. And by the way, Doug's Wisconsin Green Bay team is going to be at Gallagher Arena next Monday night for the first game of the season. His first coaching game, a real regular season game, and it's going to be in Gallagher against OSU. I mean, that's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, should be well received. And the OSU Cowgirls are ranked number 4, by the way, so this is a top 5 matchup.
Well, all due respect to Jacob's hat, all I got to say is War Eagle for that, and let's go Auburn. Let's get right into it. We're going to start with a big 3A1 matchup, Anadarko visiting Kingfisher in what I'm going to call basically an elimination game for these two teams. Kingfisher could still play second in the district by winning out. Got the big win last week against North Rock Creek. Anadarko trying to keep its playoff hopes alive as the Warriors played Plainview really tough last week. And all I can say is this is a district where there's going to be 2 really good teams that stay home. And I genuinely mean that. I mean, the records may not show it, but 2 good teams are going to stay home from this district. Jacob, who do you have? We'll start with you first. Who do you have in this one?
Yeah, when I was looking at the standings of this district, that's exactly what I was thinking to myself is like, that looks like a top 10, a 3A top 10 list, not the district. I mean, you're right. I mean, to think that Pauls Valley, North Rock Creek, teams like that, even Anadarko could not make the playoffs after the way we were talking about teams like that early in the season, just tells you how deep 3A1 is and how many great teams are in 3A1. And then it also tells you, how good Heritage Hall and Plainview are to be 4-1 and 5-0 in district 5-0 and 4-1 respectively. So Kingfisher, that's probably the best win Kingfisher's had in a couple of years. I mean, that's a big win for them last week, going to North Rock Creek. I think we talked about that game on the show last week, and I think pretty much everybody thought it'd be a good game, but picked North Rock Creek to win it, based on what the comparable schedules. But Kingfisher That is quite a win for them. And I think Kingfisher, from my understanding, they're doing it by spreading the ball around and getting a lot of players involved in their offense and just enough defense. And I think being at home, this is a great rivalry game. Anadarko only lost by a touchdown to Plainview last week. I mean, they're a good football team. So Kingfisher's 4-4 and sitting in third place in the district, but anybody can win any game on the rest of the schedule, the rest of the way out, aside from Heritage. But I got Kingfisher 8.5 point favorite at home, and I think Kingfisher's going to win the game 38-28.
Mark.
Yeah, I was looking at these district standings trying to project what was going to happen. Heritage Hall's been in games the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Which is it's kind of interesting, but this Kingfisher team played a tough non-district schedule, and they are won in different ways in the district, but they're playing good right now. And so I like the Jackets to beat Anadarko.
How about you, Tom?
Now, to me, Kingfisher is a team on an upswing right now. Last week, they got into that shootout with North Rock Creek, and you're right. I think we all picked against them last week. They win the game on a touchdown pass in the last 30 seconds. Santiago Ortega caught that winning touchdown pass. He also blocked a kick in the ball game. Now, Anadarko is one of the 5 teams in this district with a winning record, but all their wins are over teams with losing records, and they've lost the last 2 weeks to Pauls Valley and Plainview. Last week was pretty close, though. Both teams really need a win to kind of help their playoff chances and positioning. I think Kingfisher gets that win.
Tony.
North Rock Creek's always been a really tough place to play. They pack it out there north of Shawnee, and I was really surprised. Kingfisher's been in a lot of football games, and even down there at Pauls Valley, they gave that one away and should have won that one. And I was glad to see Kingfisher won, but I wasn't really surprised that they did. But North Rock, I watched them with Marlowe. That was a real tough battle, but I like the Jackets at home this week as well.
Yep. So last week, everybody picked against Kingfisher. This week, our panel taking the Jackets unanimously. I don't know if that bodes well or not, but I will say you 3 regulars all went 9-3 last week, so a pretty good week for you guys a week ago. Guest picker last week, however, 10-2. So take that for what you will. All right, our guest picker's favorite game of the week. It's a big 2A14 matchup as Chandler visits Sperry. Both teams 5-3 overall, 4-1 in their district. Most likely this is going to determine second place in the district and the chance to get to host a home playoff game. Tony, this is your team, the Chandler Lions. Tell me what you think about this contest.
Well, it's kind of an interesting matchup for us because a lot going into the season. A lot of people thought that this would be a spot with us, Sequoia, Tahlequah, and Sperry, but Sequoia has kind of faltered along the way, and Sperry had a really tough game with them last week and came out victorious 26-25, or 2 weeks ago, was it? So, but we're playing a lot better football. As Adam had talked before we went on air. We had a pretty good non-district schedule with Stroud, and then Lone Grove, and then at Clinton, and then a week off, and then you go to Metro, which we lost 35-0, which a lot of people are going to lose 35-0 to Metro. But since that point, in our 4 district wins, we have yet to yield a point in the first half. All the points that have been scored against us and have been in the mop-up roles, if you will, when the younger guys are in there. So right now, we got a lot of offensive weapons and led by senior quarterback Cruz Jackson. And it's really, we got 3 or 4 guys that can carry the football and 2 or 3 that can catch it. So I think that we're going to win. I'm going to say 31-15 Lions.
Oh.
Yeah, Chandler is clicking right now. 3 straight district wins over the bottom teams. They've scored 69, 42, and 47 points against those. Their 3 losses this season, Stroud, Clinton, and Metro Christian, are a combined 23-1 this season. So that is a tough non-district schedule, plus that district game against Metro Christian. It is that tough early non-district schedule that's really paying off for them right now. Now, Coach Park has been the head coach at Sperry for 25 years. He's built a consistent winner. They've had 8 straight winning seasons. Another playoff trip is likely for the Pirates. So I'm going to take Chandler in this one to get that second spot and that home playoff game that goes with it.
2 picks for Chandler. Mark, do you agree?
I agree. I think Chandler wins, but Sperry's got a really good program. It's the first time that these teams have played in the regular season since 2003. Chandler's won the last four. I think Chandler's a solid second in this district, so it means they get a home game in the first round of the playoffs. And I think Sperry will play him close, but 15 might be. I might go within the 15, but I do like Chandler to win.
Well, speaking of spreads, Jacob.
Well, 2A4 is a really solid district too. And that Sequoia Tahlequah Sperry game a couple weeks ago, Sperry squeaked their way out of there with a 26-25 victory. You look at that game compared to what Chandler's done in its last three district contests four contests since losing to Metro Christian. They are clearly a team that's improving every week. And Sperry, is going to have their hands full come this Friday night. Now, it is a home game for Sperry, and Sperry's fighting for their playoff life, and so I do think the home field advantage will keep this game a little closer than we might think. Plugged into my formula, I had this a 6-point spread for Chandler. I see it a little more than that, so I have it 8.5. And I have Chandler winning the game 42-28.
Our whole panel going with the Lions here. I'm sure that makes Mr. Booty a happy man right there.
Love to have a home playoff game.
Yes, definitely much better being on the road, staying home for those playoffs. Stay in 2A. We'll go 2A1, 2 here as Crossings Christian School is visiting Washington. Washington trying to keep its winning streak going. Crossings still fighting for its playoff spot. Likely going to set up a game next week with Dixon for fourth place in that district, but we'll see how things play out. But again, Washington, very tough at home, very tough on the road, tough on neutral sites. Mark, are they going to be tough in this one?
This is a time of the show where we have a very important Skordle food blog update today. I just feel like we might need to revoke Todd Miller's K County Legend status because it's the first time that he's ever eaten a taco stop, which was open when we were in high school there. And for some reason, he missed the directive and he ordered a taco and saying that he was going to save the other good stuff on the menu for the future. So I'm a little worried about Todd, but I did get the scoop from my mom today that Todd was in Tonkawa at Northern Oklahoma College trying to support the wrestling team in their first season. So he made it over to Taco Stop. And I know that Swish, that's his favorite place to eat on the road with the great Tex-Mex food that they had. But I'm not sure what kind of review Todd gave Taco Stop, but it should have been an 11 out of 10. Washington big over Crossings.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, speaking of home field playoff games, number one, Washington's used to that. And they're rolling again. Although, both Washington does have 2 overtime wins this season. Early in the season, that game with Sulphur, they found a way to win in overtime. And then 2 weeks ago in that game with Marlowe, by the way, Marlowe is a team that beat Crossings 31-0. Washington found a way to win that game in overtime against Marlowe 35-28. So what that tells me is Washington, they have the it factor. They found ways to win games, escape with wins, even when maybe they didn't play their best. And when they play their best, well, we know what the results are. Usually blowouts. Crossings, I think it's just a little bit down this season from what they've had the last couple of years. With that said, I think they're going to be fighting for a playoff spot next week, but going to Washington, that's too tall of a task for Crossings. I got Washington a 38-point favorite, and I think they're going to win the game 49-14.
Boudreaux.
Well, I think in Washington's case that they need to just figure out a way not to get anybody hurt this week. We went to Crossings last year, 35-0 victors, and Washington is the crown jewel of the class as always. And those guys, Coach Buller, they just put a program together that's top notch from start to finish. And I think it'll be just a name your number game. I think that 38's not enough. Washington, huge.
Tom?
Yeah, but I think I know why Jake picked 38 as the spread, because 38 straight wins and counting, that's tied for ninth all time for 11-man teams. And this Washington team, led by one of the best freshman quarterbacks in the state, Creed Barrett, averaging 224 yards passing a game and 18 touchdowns and just one pick going into last week's game. I didn't have the stats from this last week, but he's going to be the next big quarterback name in the state. He's already getting to be that. Crossing's two district losses are to two of the three teams ahead of them in the standings, Marlowe and Lindsay. Even if they lose this week, the Knights should have a winner-take-all game against Dixon for the fourth playoff spot next week, and I'm sure as heck not picking against the Warriors this week. I've learned my lesson last year on picking against Washington at a Washington big.
And Mark's always said, when you go to Taco Stop, you have to get the quesadilla. That's number one order right there.
That's right.
Wait a minute, where are these at? I'm always in for good food. Where's these at? Am I going to try
Ponca City. Ponca City, baby. Got to go Ponca City for the Taco Stop.
Okay.
All right, no dissenting opinions just yet. I don't know if that's going to change with this game or not, but we'll find out. Going Class A here, 1-1 as Hinton, 4-4 on the season, 3-2 in the district, visiting Cashin, which is 6-2 and 4-1. Cashin can still place second in the district and get a home playoff game. Hinton still scrapping, trying to keep itself in the playoff hunt. Tom, we're going to start with you. Can the Comets go on the road and knock off Lynn Shackelford and the Wildcats?
Well, after a couple of rebuilding seasons, Cashin seems to be back, and they can be the second or third best team in this tough district if they can beat Hinton. Cashin has beaten everybody in the district other than Hooker by double digits, and Hinton can say the same thing, and they have both Hooker and Fairview in their rearview mirror. Cashin leads the all-time series 5-0. They've won the last 3 years by at least 2 touchdowns in all those games. I think Cashin's getting better every week, and I think they could give Fairview a fight next week, but this week take the Wildcats.
Tony?
I think that Cashin is improving each and every week. And, like Tom just said, after a couple slow years, they really kind of ramped it up. And, we keep going back to this home playoff thing. And with to the victors come the spoils as playing home playoff games. So I like Cashin by 14.
And Jacob?
Tony read my mind. He must have been ahead of me there. I have because I have the line at 14.5. Hinton has four losses this season, all to teams in the top 5 in Class A1 or Class A2. Minko, Thomas, Custer, Hooker, and then Fairview last week in a Fairview's bounce back game, coming off the first loss in a long time. When that winning streak, Fairview losing that winning streak at Hooker a few weeks ago. And Coach Shack, after having a couple of rebuilding seasons, has Cashin cooking again. And hopefully Cashin isn't looking ahead to Fairview. I know a lot of us will be looking forward to that Fairview Cashin game at Fairview the last week of the regular season, with home field hosting a home playoff game likely on the line. I think this will be a little closer game than people expect. I think Hinton is a good team. Hinton's a playoff team, but I can't bet against Coach Shack, especially at home. And so I got Cashin winning this game 35-21.
Mark, can you bet against Shack and the Cats?
No, I will not bet against Shack and the Cats this week. I don't know if we're going to have any dissent on here at all this week. It may just be straight across the board.
I've got one for you.
Okay. Cashin's won 5 in a row. I think that Cashin will beat Hinton here. Tough district. I think it's going to be Hinton and Fairview in the top 2 spots when we're finished. So I like Cashin this week.
One of my favorite places to broadcast from, Maxon Field and Cashin. Love that place. Love that. Love the sight lines, especially the new press box. They've had the new press box over the past 5 years or so.
Let's keep it in A1. Let's go to District 2 as Minko, 5-3, 3-2 in the district, going to Christian Heritage, 6-2, 5-0 CHA, could wrap up the district with a win. Minko can spoil those plans and kind of stay in the hunt and muddy the waters in the district. Jacob, we're going to start with you. How does this one play out?
Well, Christian Heritage, both of their losses came to fellow Christian teams, OCS week 1 and Rejoice Christian week 3 on the road. Uh, since then, they've just rolled their opponents, and they're 5-0 in district. So, now while Minko again has also played a very tough schedule. Right now, they're sitting in fourth place, hanging on to a playoff spot. Uh, and this is, a game that early in the season, a lot of people probably circled as saying it could have been a game to decide, the district. But Walters and Wynnewood have kind of, surprised a lot of people with the seasons they've had, and now they're the teams both sitting at 7-1 and 4-1 in district. I got Christian Heritage an 18-point favorite at home, and I think they just have too much, especially on the defensive side. I think Christian Heritage defense and the home field advantage is going to be too much for Minko. I think it'll be a close game in the first half, but Christian Heritage pulls away. I have the score 45-24.
So Christian Heritage can't handle the Christians, but can beat up on all the heathens. Mark, are they going to keep doing that this week?
I think so. They're having a good season. I don't know that they were a team that I thought that were going to be in the hunt this much as they are. That loss to OCS at the beginning of the season was that crazy game we've talked about here where they got beat by Hail Mary. So I like CHA this week. I think CHA gets the win here.
Tom?
Well, CHA's been getting it done with defense. They've thrown back-to-back shutouts and have 3 so far this season. You throw out their Rejoice Christian game, they haven't given up more than 19 points all year. This team was picked in the bottom half of the district and some of the preseason stuff. So 5-0 is a nice surprise for the Crusaders fans. Minko was picked to win the district, and they lost to Wynnewood and Walters back-to-back earlier this month. Minko looks pretty solid for the 4th spot, even if they lose, as they have 1-7 Okemah next week to end the regular season. This one could go either way, but I'm going to pick the team on the 5-game winning streak and ride with the Crusaders.
Tony, you said you had one for us. Is this the one?
No, sir. No,
All
sir.
right.
No. Minko's in trouble at CHA. I don't know that they can score 24 total points. Just looking at the sheer numbers for CHA, as everyone has previously said, their defense has been stifling for people. So I suspect that CHA wins handily.
All right, it's getting kind of boring, guys. Let's go down to 8-man, see if we can change things up. This is B1-4 here. Keota, 6-2 overall, 2-1 in the district, going to Dewar, which is 6-1 and 3-0. Keota coming off last week's 33-32 loss to Caddo. Can stay in the district title race with a win here. Dewar trying to set up next week's game with Caddo for the district championship. Tony, we're going to start with you on this one. Are the Dragons going to prevail, or is Keota go on the road and get the win?
I don't think Keota can make it on the road, and the Dragons are pretty tough year in and year out, and their defense has been playing really well here as of late, and I think that Dewar wins by 9.
Tom, I need a good stat.
Well, Josh Bean's Dewar Dragons have been excellent over the past 6 years. They have a 70-5 record, won that state championship back in 2020. They've been the most consistent 8-man team on the east side of the state, and they've won their 3 district games by an average score of 58-5. Keota lost a heartbreaker last week, 33-32 to Caddo. These two teams haven't played since 2019, but the last 3 times they played, they combined for over 100 points, like 54-46, 62-48, whatever it was. I'm hoping for another shootout, but I think Dewar is going to come out ahead in that shootout.
Mark, was last week the first visit to the Grove for you?
It was.
And
No, it was something else. Very unique place. Haven't seen tailgating on that level quite so much.
yeah, Ole Miss's thing is we may not win every game, but we've never lost a party, and the outside the stadium definitely kind of dwarfs the atmosphere inside the stadium. But cool place.
When you haven't won a conference championship in 60 years, then you have to adapt somehow. And they got a lot of money and a lot of time, I think, on that campus. And so they did come up with a party that is not to be beaten. So it was it was cool. Stadium, no security getting in. It was just kind of show up the game for a little bit. Not an intimidating place to play, but it was definitely a fun place to be. This game this week, this is a deep district. Usually in the eastern side of the state, you don't have as much competition within the district. Coach Henry at Kyoto has done a nice job. He's been there for 20 years, and they win consistently. So losing to Caddo is also not anything to be ashamed of. I'll give you a stat. I visited Dewar last year for the first time. Not quite the Grove, but the hospitality was similar from the people at Dewar. They have a great home field environment, and I think they've lost one home game out of their last maybe 98 or 95, something like that. So I don't think you go against those numbers. I'll take Dewar, and I expect Kyoto to play this game pretty competitively. Curious to see what the spread may be here.
Can you tell me who the loss was to?
The loss was last year.
Okay.
It was in the playoffs last year. So, I mean, it ended like a 90 game. I think it was a 90 game district streak. So I have to go back and look, but I could probably have that for you by the end of the program.
Well, Mr. Diesel Horse, give me some spread.
Well, that's why I'm here, Mark, just to make sure that, your accuracy is on point. Dewar lost to Elitka 36-20 at home week 2. So that must have been that one loss you were talking about was that game early in the year. But since then,
no, okay, then that's the second loss. If they lost this year, and Malika is really good.
Regent Prep last year. Regent Prep in the second round of the playoffs last year.
There you go. Good call.
Since that very rare home loss week 2 to Elitka, they've 55, 58, 52, 70, 53 points since then, and just like a freight train. And Coach Bean, he has his boys ready to play every week. They have their eyes on the prize. They're looking at a gold ball down the road. I don't see them letting up this week. I do think Kyoto is going to come in and try to slow the game down, try to keep that offense in check. But I just don't see it happening. I see the Dragons winning big. I have them a 24.5 point favorite, and I have them winning the game 48-24.
So you want to create your future, discover a path worth traveling down, find a career to get excited about. For decades, Career Tech has been training talented, skilled individuals, empowering them to step into a career that fuels not only their life, but the Oklahoma workforce. These individuals are the heartbeat of this state's economy. Individuals just like you. Create your future today at Oklahoma Career Tech.
All right, let's go to some game of the week action. And this first game of the week is Thursday night. It is Piedmont going to Stillwater. Our man Tom Nelson's going to be on the call along with Coach David Kerr. Tom, I know you don't normally pick games that you're calling, but you normally give us a pretty good breakdown. So break down this game for me as these two 6A2 teams are going to battle this one out in Stilly.
Well, I was doing my homework, Thursday night game, so I got to start early. I came up with an interesting nugget regarding both Piedmont and Deer Creek high schools. Of course, they're now both 6A high schools. Piedmont jumped up to 6A2 this year. In 1995, less than 30 years ago, they were in 2A District 1 with Fairview, Hennessy, Alva, Watonga, Chisholm, and Heritage Hall. So it's amazing how those two rural schools have blown up over that time. So
yeah.
Now to the match. What's that?
I missed that part, but I do know, like when I first started covering Kingfisher, both of those, Deer Creek and Piedmont, were, if not in Kingfisher's district, in their class. That was back when Booty was he was well into his college years by then. But they've grown a lot in those years.
And I was thinking about this too. I think that the first ball game I broadcast on the radio in Oklahoma 20 years ago, I guess 18 years ago, was Kingfisher and Piedmont. I think 14-7 was the final score. That was the first ball game I broadcast in Oklahoma after moving down here from Kansas. But anyway, back to the ball game. Piedmont making that jump to 6A2 for the first time, and they find themselves in the upper half of District 1. They've got to bounce back from that 29-28 loss to Southmore last week. The Wildcats run that unique flexbone triple option offense. They've got a good quarterback to trigger it. His name is Grayson May, a really good junior. They've got a really physical offensive line anchored by Scotty Logan and Cooper Bunce. It's a challenge to the opposition each week because they don't see that offense, and the scout team has a hard time running it. That's always kind of an advantage that Piedmont has. Now, Stillwater, they dominated fifth-ranked Putnam City last week, led by sophomore safety Peyton Campbell, who had 4 interceptions in the game. The winner of this game looks to slide in right behind Choctaw for second in the district, and they got a good shot at getting that first-round bye. Big challenge for Piedmont to take on a Pioneer squad that has made it to the state semifinals each of the last 6 seasons with 4 title game appearances and a gold ball a couple of years ago. And I really think, not picking this game, but the Wildcats are going to find out how they stack up at the top of 6A too when they play Stillwater on Thursday night.
Well, we can guarantee this is one game you will not miss. As far as your picks go, Mark, give us a winner.
Stillwater. This is a good team that I think has a chance to still win the state championship. Their losses are certainly excusable or understandable for the season to Carl Albert and to Choctaw. They're going to have a tough defense. It's a really interesting coaching matchup with the defense that Stillwater employs. A kind of a zone blitz scheme, and guys are lined up all over the place. Of course, Piedmont runs the flex bone. And so I think the Piedmont offense might be able to possess the football a little bit. That zone blitz type of stuff works a lot better against a team that throws the football. But I like the Pioneers on Thursday night.
Tom, who's Stillwater starting quarterback right now?
Kid who transferred from Morrison, the Schubert kid.
Schubert. So the last 2 years, Stillwater has had quarterbacks starting that the previous year were starters at Class A schools, which is
Cashin and Morrison.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting little tidbit there.
If they had a starter from Class A move into Stillwater right now, he might start it for the OSU.
I knew those jokes were coming. At this point, I was going to make an NIL reference. But, it's tough to pile on homecoming weekend.
Pile on, Jacob.
It's tough time. I was actually trying to give away my club tickets for the OSU game this weekend, and someone told me I'd have to pay them for them to take them, which was the first.
If Piedmont was playing at Oklahoma State on Saturday night, they'd have a better chance with that rushing attack that they've got. I mean, I don't think OSU can stop that.
Well, if OSU would do good if they didn't have to get in the red zone. It's getting in the red zone that causes them so many big problems. They just, they get to the inside the 20-yard line, they just decide, like the Bears, to hand it off to an offensive tackle. But these are just the problems I have in the football teams I love. This game, let's talk about this game. Stillwater, Piedmont's is in kind of a little bit of a pickle here. They got to go to Stillwater to play in this game, and then they play Putnam City in their final regular season game, coming off that loss to Sophomore. Well, Putnam City and Sophomore play this week too, and so a loss this week for Piedmont puts them in a must-win game next week against Putnam City. To hold on to a playoff spot, depending on how that.
Top 6 teams go.
Oh, that's right. 6. I forgot. That's right. The top 6 go. So, holding on to a home field game then as a 4 spot, with the top 2 teams getting byes. But with that said, being at home, this is the same Stillwater team that beat Tulsa Union. If we look all the way back to week 1, this is a team that beat Tulsa Union and played Choctaw, lost by only a touchdown at Choctaw. I just think Stillwater's got too much talent and speed for Piedmont. I do think this will be a good football game. I got Stillwater a 14.5-point favorite at home. I think Piedmont's going to try to slow the game down, keep it low scoring, but I don't think that's a problem for Stillwater. I think they can win multiple styles. But I have Stillwater winning the game 35-14.
Booty, I'm really glad you're on here tonight, but for just that one moment, I wish that Lynn Shackelford was our guest picker when Tom chimed in that six teams make the playoffs from each of those districts in there. Because I'm sure he would have had a really nice reply to that. But anyway, Tony, who do you got in this one?
Trust me, Swish. I think the same thing when it's said as well. But he's talking about the transfer quarterback last year at Stillwater, Chance Acord. he's a Devonport kid, 7 miles east of here,
Yep.
Class B to A to 6A, and he's a pretty good athlete. But Stillwater, I think Piedmont really going to see that they're really showing up in a class bigger this week. Stillwater, no stranger as you guys have stated to championship games and finals and semifinals, but Stillwater, if they jump out early, Piedmont's probably going to have to get out of that flex bone and try to do something they're out of character with. I think Stillwater wins by 3 touchdowns.
You guys are really exciting with these picks. So let's go to our Friday game of the week. It is a Class 2A matchup as Perry is going to Chisholm. Not a lot of years you can point to a Perry and Chisholm matchup and say it's got playoff implications, but here we are. It's great to see these two teams both doing well. Matt Adair is going to be on the call, voice of the Ride Rangers Ride. Going to be on there with Adam Dieselhorse calling this game and all of our games of the week. You can see them on all of our Skordle.tv platforms, as well as, I believe, the WWLS Sports Animal platforms, too. So lots of places to watch these games live and free. So be sure to check these games out. But again, Chisholm really does need this one. Perry's in pretty good shape for now, but a loss can kind of muddy up some waters right there. Mark, we're going to start with you. Can the Longhorns get this much needed win?
This is going to be a good game. The teams have played every year since 2010. That's 14 meetings, split down the middle at 7. First year they played was in 1976. Perry's won 4 games, and Perry won last year 12-8. So I think we'll have a little bit more of a high-scoring game here. Perry's really good across the defensive front, and got a chance to see them a couple of weeks ago. Chisholm played great last week, and we're right in the middle of it against Millwood. And so there's going to be a really good team that misses the playoffs in this district.
Yep.
It's a tough district in 2A1, but I'm going to go with the home team, Chisholm, to win a close one.
No chance that Mark would ever pick Perry. 0 chance.
No, not at all. Not at all. That was a tough one for me to pick either way.
Come on, Mark. And you just now made that pick, right?
I did. I was struggling whether
it looked like you were kind of waffling on that one.
I think to me the difference is who's playing at home. So, and then the fact that, again, Chisholm's last week, their performance against Millwood, but I got nothing against the Perry Maroons. Like I said, won all of my games I played against them. Perry's beaten Blackwell 15 in a row. It's not even a rivalry anymore. We had Coach Cole on the middle of the day show last week when we were in Perry, and he's done a great job with that program. Played for my good friend Garen Higgins at Emporia State. Really good coach. So Perry's got a good football program, good team.
Jacob, do you agree?
This is another district where there's going to be a team left out, a really high quality playoff caliber team in 2A1 that's going to get left out between the top 5 teams. And this is also the only district where a team will finish in last place that lost to forfeit. If you don't know what I mean by that, look at the standings, because Crooked Oak's not finishing out the season, I think, due to injuries, or something. But they did get a win. With that said,
hold on.
Okay,
they did play Blackwell and did win. They didn't forfeit that game, so they've had not enough players a few times. But the Maroons did lose to a team that's had to have a couple forfeits.
Well, that was the joke, was that now everybody that plays Crooked Oak gets a win against forfeit, and forfeit beat Blackwell. But okay, that was the.
I like your pre-show jokes better. They had a little more energy.
Yeah.
These are a little easier to discern.
Can we go back to those?
Yeah,
we can't go back to those. No.
Yeah, absolutely. I hear there's a pile of trash floating in the Atlantic Ocean. So where were we? Yeah, so Chisholm. I mean, this is kind of
making fun of my high school. That's where we were.
No, that was all love. That was all love. You can make fun of Fairview if they, have won 3 straight championships. Chisholm, this is a must-win game. I mean, Perry 4-1 in district. That win for them over OCS, looking back on it now, might have been definitely was a key win for them. Secured them a playoff spot. Chisholm needs this win to get to make to be able to breathe a little bit easier and not get left out in the cold, not playing in the postseason, which where Chisholm has come from the last few seasons, that'd be a big letdown for this team. Right now they're sitting at 4-4, but they are definitely a playoff worthy football team. I've got Chisholm a 7-point favorite at home against Perry. And in true Fairview style, I'm picking Chisholm to choke and Perry to win 35-28.
Hey, we know we got a little dissension in the ranks here. I like to see it. Tony, let's break this tie. It's 1-1 right now.
Back in, I believe, it was week 4 or 5 when St. Mary's went to Chisholm. St. Mary's, JD had those guys on a roll. They were undefeated. They go up there and they just kind of got dismantled by Chisholm, which I didn't truly realize that Chisholm was that good, and that score really surprised me. But going on the road anywhere is going to be tough. But I'm going to take the Horns to gore the Maroons by 3.
All right, Tom.
I might be wrong about this, but I'm thinking, looking at the standings in the district, this is basically a playoff game. I don't think Perry has anything wrapped up yet because
No.
Perry at Chisholm is 2 losses behind Perry, but Chisholm picks up the forfeit win over Crooked Oak next week, and Perry has to go to Millwood.
Yep.
So it
Good
can get
luck.
very, very interesting. And so you can see how that potentially really tightens up the race. Chisholm was building momentum before the last 2 weeks. The losses to Jones and Millwood. They played a good game against Millwood last week. Perry's won 4 straight, including last week's forfeit win over Crooked Oak. A couple of weeks ago, I probably would have gone with Chisholm in this spot, but Perry had a week off after the big win over OCS. I think the Maroons know how badly they need this one, staring at Millwood next week. I'm going to take Perry in this one.
Hey, I like it. 2-2 right there. So Mark and Tony going with Chisholm, Jacob, Tom picking the Maroons. So again,
Present
I
with
might-
him.
I might-
Break the tie.
I might find my tires slash. I live 3 miles south of Chisholm, so my tires might get slashed. But
well, for a flamingo burger, I'll break that tie, but nobody's offered one up yet. So, but again, our games of the
Stadium.
week, that's Thursday, Piedmont at Stillwater, Tom Nelson, David Kerr on that call. And then Friday, Perry at Chisholm, Matt Adair out of Diesel Horse. Catch those 7 p.m. kickoffs on all the Skordle and Sports Animal platforms. Now let's go some out-of-network games, some of the bigger games across the state. Big school action here. 6A1, Norman going to Mustang. Norman 7-1, 4-1 in the district. Mustang 5-3 and 2-3. Tigers have scored at least 30 points in every game except their loss to Jinx. Can they afford to look past Mustang and on to Bixby next week? Jacob, tell me, should they be looking past Mustang this week?
Man, I'm telling you what, Norman's had one heck of a season. They are one of the, surprises of Class 6A1 this season. What they did to Deer Creek last week, and I know Deer Creek's playing without their best, wide receiver and trying to hang on for dear life, but man, Phoenix Murphy, that senior quarterback, was just flat out awesome in that game, and I think he had a little bit of extra motivation, going into that game, having to hear about, Grady Adamson all week and how Grady Adamson was, the better quarterback. But Phoenix Murphy had one heck of a game, and he gets to throw it out to his younger brother, Ryder Murphy, who's one of their best wide receivers, and then their tight end, Crew Knowles. I mean, look, you got kids on your team named Phoenix, Ryder, and Crew. I mean, that sounds like a frat boy all-star team, doesn't it? I mean, they're literally, no wonder they live in Norman. But Mustang, hey, look, Mustang is still playing for a playoff spot, and with Coach Blankenship's, pedigree, playing it at home, then the following week, of course, Deer Creek hosts Bixby this week. Good luck. And then they play Mustang at home at senior night, and for basically a home field spot in the playoffs. I'm assuming they lose to Bixby. I mean, which I think they will, unfortunately. Sorry, guys. With that said, man, I expect a really good football game Norman and Mustang. This is gonna be one of the funnest games. I think there's going to be a lot of points scored. It's going to be up and down the field. I got Norman a 6-point favorite going to Mustang, and I got after watching Norman play next week, I'm sold. I got Norman winning 42-35.
I got him favorite and got him covering. Tony, do you agree?
I don't want to be the scoreboard operator for this game. I think that your fingers are going to be tired from pushing all the +6s and +7s and everything else you have to push for this game. Norman is going to go in and roll Mustang. Mustang has no chance. Norman by 16.
All right, Tom.
How about Norman? I mean, picked to finish near the bottom of the district. They've won 7 of 8, but really opened up some eyes last week, beating Deer Creek by 27. I mean, who saw that coming? Phoenix Murphy, 393 passing yards last week and 6 touchdowns. I think after last week, Norman has a lot of confidence. I think they're going to beat Mustang for the second year in a row.
Mark, you going to make it a clean sweep for the Tigers?
Yes, I like Norman. They did win last year by 8. The Murphy brothers are really good, really, really, really good players. So, Norman deserves the ranking. Knocked off Norman North earlier this season. Next week's going to be really difficult on them. I think with Bixby, I don't think they're looking ahead to that game. So I'm going to go with the Tigers over the Broncos.
All right,
Hey, Tom, Mark values his tires.
What was that?
Mark values the tires of his car.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, this district, the way things set up right now, if Norman does take care of business against Mustang, and then of course if Bixby wins out, which I think most of us figure out they will, then that Deer Creek Mustang game next week will be the deciding game of who that other team is that gets a home field playoff game versus having to go on the road to I think Union or Broken Arrow or a team like that, in the playoffs. So a lot riding on this game and a lot riding on then what happens the following week, Mustang and Deer Creek.
It's generally pretty easy to go on the road to the Tulsa area and win big school playoff games.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point.
West side.
In our business and at our firm, it's all about preparation, preparation, preparation. We are advocates for our client. We speak for them. So as a part of that advocacy, it involves hiring the best experts. It's doing the legal research. It's doing the medical research. That is advocacy behind the scenes. It's not just the bells and whistles in front of the jury.
Let's go to 6A Division 2 now. District 2 is Sand Springs, 5-3 overall, 4-1 in that district, going to Putnam City North, 7-1 and 5-0. It's been a good run for the Panthers. Safe to say, though, business is starting to pick up these last couple of weeks with the season. You got Sand Springs this week. You got Muskogee next week. Can the Panthers keep it rolling, or does Charles Page High School stop that train? Tony, we're going to start with you.
They're going to go to, am I there? You guys hear me?
Yep.
They're going to travel down I-44 through passing the motherland known as Chandler. And I think that PCN's going to be ready for them. I don't think the Sendites have enough firepower for Putnam City. Putnam City wins by 9.
Mark.
All right, we're going to have some disagreement here. Bobby Clink, Sand Springs, really good. They are just outside of that group of 3 in this classification: Stillwater, Choctaw, and Muskogee. And so they played a really tough non-district schedule that included Bixby. Putnam North's had a heck of a season. They've done a really nice job, but I think that their luck runs out here against the Charles Page Sandites. Give me Sand Springs.
Tom, break this tie for me.
Well, Sand Springs' 3 losses are to Owasso, Bixby, and last week to Muskogee. And the Sandites played Muskogee closer than anybody in Oklahoma has, losing by 16. PC North has won 6 straight, but I'll be honest with you, I'm not that impressed. Probably just 2 decent wins over Shawnee early on in their opener, and then last week over Sapulpa. The rest of the wins over losing teams. It's the second time they've played ever. PC North won back in the 1990 state semifinals. I'm calling for Sand Springs to even up the series at 1.
And Jacob.
Yeah, this is going to be a really good game. PC North. I don't think PC North's been 7-1 since the Bradford Deji Kareem days, back when my twin brother was holding a clipboard on the sideline for Putnam City North. They had a great season, and hosting this game, this will I think put them in a pretty good place to host a playoff game, which I don't think many people would have had that in their early season bracket. Well, looking at this group of teams. However, I got Sand Springs, who, despite not having as impressive a record at 5-3, and that's primarily because of strength of schedule. I think Sand Springs. I have them a 2-point favorite going to Putnam City North, and I have Sand Springs is going to win the game, 27-24. And Tony, I want you to settle a score once and for all between Mark and I. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Highland cottage cheese. Not
Yes.
as good as better than great value cottage cheese. Can we agree on that?
That which one's better?
Highlands cottage cheese.
Yeah, made in Chandler.
That's what I'm saying. Okay. See?
Yeah. Come
All right,
on.
Mark. It's settled once and for all.
No, wait a minute.
Comes from Chandler. How can it
The
not
cottage
be
cheese argument that's been haunting this program for years. We
this
finally
is-
have a consensus.
Not all the
Sugar on your
information. Not all the
cottage cheese,
information has been given here.
Jacob, do you put cottage cheese? Do you put sugar on your cottage cheese or pepper?
No, I just eat it straight out of the bucket. I straight out of the thing. And Tressa yells at me, "Quit eating out of the thing!" And I'm like, "No one else eats it. No one else eats it."
Sugar on cottage cheese. The hell.
Ask tomorrow. Make it a question.
Okay, Highland, when they make the cottage cheese, they label it that, but they also use the same cottage cheese for the off-brand stuff. It's all made in Chandler. That's
Heresy. Heresy. Okay,
I was a
Back to
freshman in
some-
high school. I was a 1986 freshman in high school, and I had to hold the flag, keep it from blowing over for the groundbreaking ceremony for said island dairy.
Well,
Well,
I hate
40
I hate
years ago.
cottage- My take on this is cottage cheese is disgusting. I can't even touch it.
There you go, Tom. I
Lost
think
the girl
I think,
squish.
think all the information was given when you said cottage cheese. That's all we needed to know. Here.
You know what cottage cheese is really good for?
Throwing it away.
Lululemon pants.
yeah. Oh. Back to the political jokes.
We're offending everybody today.
Yeah, I love it.
All right, let's go to Class 5A right now. Carl Albert, undefeated on the season. A lot of people's favorite to win the class, if not the district first. Going to Jelsma Stadium, one of the premier facilities in Oklahoma. Going to Guthrie, 6-2, also undefeated in the district. Guthrie started 1-2, but has won 5 in a row. But against some of the bottom tier teams in that district, Carl Albert returned to the Rock. Great game last year. What's going to happen this go around, Jacob? Let's go with you first.
Well, Carl Albert's just a well-oiled machine at this point, and when Carl Albert plays, it's like a who's who of college recruiters on the sideline over there with the clipboards, just trying to decide, who's going to offer who, and they're probably looking at some of their sophomores and juniors and thinking, these kids that aren't even playing yet 2 years from now are going to be, getting recruited. Carl Albert is a Oklahoma high school football powerhouse. So is Guthrie. I don't want to not give Guthrie any credit either. And Guthrie's got a real home field advantage and a real cool atmosphere there. But I just don't see Guthrie being able to slow down Carl Albert. I got Carl Albert a 21-point favorite, and I have him winning 42-14.
Tony, you were out there by yourself on that last game, or are you going to go with the Blue Jays and possibly be out there by yourself in this one?
I have all the love in the world for Chris Evans and Phil Nichols and Ronnie and those guys up there that do a great job on the Blue Jay broadcast. And the thing I like about them is they're realists, and they're probably going to tell you as well that it's going to be really hard, even at Jelsma, for the Jays to win. Carl Albert is, it's the one of the standards which everybody else sets, and they've had some terrific move-ins, and they produce players and in their lower ranks, and so I just think that the Titans will be too mighty for the Jays Friday night.
Chris Evans got to have 2 semis to haul all of his equipment and his staff to all of their games. It's pretty amazing what all he's put together over there. Mark, 2 for Carl Albert. Are you picking the Blue Jays?
Make it 3. Guthrie hadn't won in this series, which has been a really good one since 2015. 7 in a row for the Titans. This team is awesome. It's going to be tough for anybody, I think, to play with them. Del City is on quite a bit of a winning streak here, and they're shutting everybody out in their district. But I got and I think that's probably going to be a matchup that we see down the road in the playoffs with the best 2 teams in this class. But I like Carl Albert over Guthrie.
All right, Tom, I know you're picking Guthrie.
Yeah, well, Carl Albert, 5th straight game last week over 54 points, but they did give up a season-high 12 points, so there might be a little chink in the armor. I don't think so. Guthrie 6-2, hosting them in the Rock. Great place to watch a football game. You know, during Carl Albert's 33-game winning streak, their closest game was last year against Guthrie. They won that game 24-21. CA also beat Guthrie 22-19 back in 2021. So the Blue Jays have brought it to the Titans before. And I think Carl Albert's going to know that they were in a battle, which they need going into the playoffs, but they're going to end up winning by a couple of touchdowns.
Final play of the game last year, won it on the Carl Albert win at Gilsma? Final play of the game?
It was pretty late, I know. Didn't Sperry throw a late touchdown for that one?
Yeah, I think they got a pass interference call that kind of propelled them as well.
All right, let's go to our last game. We're going to keep it in 5A. This is District 1. Bishop McGinnis, 6-2 overall, 3-1 in the district. Going to Newcastle, 5-3, 4-0 in the district. The Racers up here in 5A got that big win last week over Lawton Mac. Now they could wrap up the district, but then McGinnis also has a shot with it by closing it out. Can the Irish get it done on the road, or the Racers going to keep things going at home? Mark, we're going to start with you.
Man, I think Newcastle, their success that they're having in Class 5A shows how good Class 4A is, because they got 3 losses this year. They lost to Elgin, they lost to Blanchard, they lost to Tuttle. 3 teams that I think are in the mix for the state championship in Class 4A. McGinnis surprised me a little bit by losing to Midwest City earlier this year.
Yeah.
And then maybe down just a little bit. McGinnis has had a lot of transfers leave, but I'm going to go with Newcastle. Man, this is a step up. I mean, Class 4A, Class 5A, probably not a lot of difference, maybe outside of top couple of teams in Class 5A. Carl Albert, I think they compete in Class 6A Division 1 this year, but I like Newcastle.
You also like Newcastle, Jacob?
Well, I just sent you guys a video. I promise you, with all the wildfires in Oklahoma, I'm the only person who stood in their backyard with his phone and filmed a helicopter dipping down to get water out of the neighborhood pond and the neighborhood next to us to stop a wildfire that was a mile from our house. So I just want to tip of the hat to Edmond Fire Department and Edmond Police Department and all the fire departments and all the first responders and people in Oklahoma today that had to deal with just crazy weather we had today and the wildfires. But I sent you guys the video for you guys to watch. It was wild. Speaking of wildfire, this is going to be, I think, another game that could light up the scoreboard. Bishop, had that kind of a head scratcher loss to Midwest City that broke up otherwise what has been a pretty typical Bishop McGinnis season. Newcastle, right now on paper, is looking at a district championship if they win this game. And being at home in Newcastle's beautiful facilities, is going to be a big advantage for them. However, and I do have Newcastle a 5-point favorite, but I'm picking Bishop McGinnis. I just think Bishop McGinnis is on a roll. I think they have a little bit of a mental edge in this game. And I got Bishop McGinnis going into Newcastle and winning 35-34 on a blocked extra point.
Wow. There you have it right there. Bishop McGinnis with the win. Tom.
If it goes down like that, that'd be the greatest prediction ever made on this show.
Yes, I agree.
It's a good one for the district lead in 5A1. The 4 playoff teams have separated themselves, but Newcastle has the 1-game lead on McGinnis for the top spot. Now, right before district play, Mark brought this up. Newcastle ran that gauntlet, losing to Tuttle, Blanchard, and Elgin, but that led to 4 straight district wins, including a really nice one last week on the road at MacArthur. McGinnis would be right there at 4-2 if they could have taken care of Midwest City 3 weeks ago. This is the first time these two teams have played since 1987. And I'm going with Newcastle in this one. I think they'll get Bishop McGinnis.
Moody, you going to even things up, or are you going to keep it lopsided against Jacob?
Lopsided against Jacob. You talked about Newcastle moving up from 4A. And I over the course of my years of doing what I do with all the different people, but I still contend that 4A, top to bottom, is the toughest class in all sports: football, basketball, baseball, the 3 major ones. And I think that just what you guys talked about, the gauntlet there that they faced in the preseason, has really propelled them into 5A. I think McGinnis goes in, kind of looks down their nose at Newcastle a little bit, and the Racers come away with a squeaky victory.
All right, so that means Jacob goes out on the limb by himself in this one. So that's going to do it for all of these games. Well, thank our whole crew for joining us here. Mark, where you got this weekend? Anything big?
I'm off this weekend, but I was just really happy to know that you weren't in prison after Andy had told us a couple of times this year. So when I ran into you at Auburn, it was good to see that those reports weren't accurate. So
Well,
glad that you could.
still had the ankle bracelet on, so it sort of doesn't count. But
I got
Jacob,
bailed on Swish.
when he did see me at Auburn the first time, I did have a big old cup of Toomer's lemonade. So I randomly ran into Mark twice at Auburn on consecutive days. It was pretty funny. Jacob, appreciate you. I'm looking for that blocked extra point this weekend, and we'll see how that plays out. Tom, good luck on the call Thursday night. Enjoy your Friday night off.
Gotcha.
Boudreaux, go sling that pizza at number 1 Auburn. Is that equestrian? Was that on Saturday?
Friday at
night,
11.
Auburn at OSU equestrian event. So you guys go check out the equestrian event and get you some good Tony's Pizza while you're at it. Should be a busy weekend there in Stillwater. So it could be a good night for you. Appreciate you joining us, and thanks again to you guys. Again, our games of the week: Thursday, Piedmont at Stillwater; Friday, Perry at Chisholm. You can watch those on all the Skordle and WWLS Sports Animal platforms. And then we've got our Pay Dirt show at 7:15 p.m. Friday. You can catch Ethan Sunken. He'll bring you all of the biggest plays from all of our big network games. Thanks again for joining us, and thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you next.